few questions about septic treatment and wastewater. Septic treatment, wastewater. Where does it come from? Where does it go? Who deals with this waste? How is it disposed of? How does it affect you? And how will your community and you decide to dispose of it? In November of 2014, the EPA and the Conservation Law Foundation settled a multi-year suit regarding the Cape's Waterway Quality Plan. The Cape Cod Commission worked hard to come up with a new plan called the 208 Plan that would require each community to write a plan that will, over time, solve each municipality's contaminated estuary issues. Each municipality is required to investigate the degree of damage to each watershed. The 1978 Area-Wide Quality Plan warned of impending dangers of nitrogen pollution on the Cape. The Conservation Law Foundation sued the EPA because very little was done to prevent further contamination in Cape Cod and Baywinds. Water starts with you, in your home, your office, your business, everywhere you use water. The folks who take care of your wastewater live in your neighborhood. They may live next door to you. They drive these cool honey wagons, and they deliver the waste to facilities like the one pictured on the right. The Google Earth photo shows the town of Yarmouth septic treatment facility. In this slide, you will see on the left a picture of a house with a Title V septic system. And if you're like me, you thought Title V septic systems would remove all of the nitrogen in the water after it is filtered through the system and leached into the groundwater. But recently I learned that Title V septic systems only remove up to 25% of the nitrogen from the water. As most of us have learned these days, nitrogen is harmful to our nature and our environment. We will talk more about that in a little bit. There are other options. If a septic system fails to function, a tight tank could be installed. Tight tanks are regulated by the health department, as are most septic systems. And the health department would regulate how often a tight tank must be pumped. On the right side of this slide, you will see a simple diagram of a septic treatment plant, which is where the waste is delivered and processed. And in areas recognized by the DEP as nitrogen sensitive, this option is just not enough. In the next few slides, we will go into greater detail. But for now, you see that the wastewater sewage is delivered via truck, then pumped into the building where it flows into a primary settling tank, which is where about 60% of the solids in the waste stream settle into a mixture of sludge and water. This primary treatment removed very few toxic chemicals. Then oxygen is added, and the slides that follow will explain in greater detail. Separation takes place in several different areas throughout the facility. The liquid and solid components are separated by settling. The clarification wastewater flows to an oxidation ditch, and the sludge, are pumped into a filter press. Ditch, the air is pumped into the wastewater, and bacteria digests the waste to remove nitrogen and other pollutants. The water flows over ultraviolet lights to kill bacteria and viruses. The water, or effluent, is pumped to the spray irrigation field for disposal during the growing season or to storage tanks during the non-growing season. As you see in the photograph here, this is effluent being disposed of on a field. The water is spray irrigated onto a field where grass removes the remaining nitrogen. Some water evaporates during spraying. Some water is used by the grass, and some water percolates through the soil and becomes groundwater. Several devices are installed in the field to test the grass roots to ensure that it meets required standards, which is what remains after the water is removed from the solids. The sludge is dried in a filter press. The water is squeezed out to return to the treatment process. How will the contaminants in wastewater affect you? The algae being held in the photo on the left is a result of nitrogen. This photo was taken at Mill Pond in the town of Yarmouth in 2011. You also may notice the pie chart on the right showing the breakdown of water contaminants. Fertilizer causes 8%, stormwater from impervious surfaces causes 7%, and by far the largest water contaminator is wastewater. In the photos in this slide, you see the results of nitrogen in watersheds in the town of Yarmouth. In the photo on the left, although it's from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. The algae is clogging the water and causing damage to the environments of the inhabitants of the water. On the right, you see a beach on Parker's River after several fish washed up on the shore, dead, from the heavy concentration of nitrogen. The town of Yarmouth, again as an example, you see two maps. The map on the left represents the town of Yarmouth's population in 1951. The map on the right shows the population of the town of Yarmouth in 2010. You might notice that there's a lot of green space in the 1951 map that represents all of the unpopulated areas. And as you can see, the population in 1951 was 3,297. In 2010, the population was 23,793. The yellow areas designate businesses. Now, it is important to note that when you're looking at these maps, there's 59 years difference. And running water was being installed all over the town as the town grew and as it was developed. And over those 59 years, the cost to install the water infrastructures was affordable for taxpayers. And water is currently affordable for town of Yarmouth residents. This just goes to show that over a long period of time, a new utility or some solution to our water issues could potentially be affordable to the residents of each municipality. Population forecasters say that our numbers will continue to increase, which means that there will be no shortage of waste. This waste affects our footprint, and finding a viable solution will become everyone's problem. Finding affordable solutions will become the voters' responsibility, as municipalities in our area determine the best course of action to protect our waterways. Many communities will consider sewers. Others will consider advising residents to seek innovative alternatives, such as impervious barriers, or aquaculture, or incinerating toilets. Still other communities will do nothing. What will you do to decrease the effects of nitrogen in your water?